Okay, here we are for Germany 5. As expected, Russia did take Germany there, Berlin. So we got a retake. He blitzed Ukraine, killed my one guy in Bello, but didn't take the property. He did put his one transport out here to get Norway, so I get a free transport kill there. It also did leave him a cruiser transport here, which at this point, my double bombers isn't going to do a lot of dead zoning because I have to abandon Northwest Europe to move this stack in order to hold Germany next round. It'd been nice if I could only move a couple infantry, then maybe be like hold on to Northwest Europe and make this really hard for his fleet to get out of here. But unfortunately, that's just not in the cards. So he'll be able to pull his fleet out relatively unscathed. 2 bombers is no longer necessarily making a big deal on the sea front, so I'm willing to risk that 1 bomber in order to kill his transport and get him down to just 1 UK transport, so he's got to buy some more of those and just kind of slow things down again for them. So the overall results of this Germany battle, you know, as Axis you see Germany going, that's almost a forfeit, forfeit, forfeit. But we did have a pretty good advantage going into it, thankfully, and this is kind of my quick rundown. So losing the capital IPC, I had 46 in there, so that's minus 46 that Germany didn't get, plus 46 that US gets, so that's 92 in the hole, plus the 10 he got for taking Berlin in general. I lost 11 infantry, 4 fighters, and a bomber in the battling, so that's going to be minus 85. I did going to kill 2 transports, a cruiser, 9 fighters, 6 infantry, artillery, and a tank, so 144 IPC on the positive for me, and it did give me Egypt, because I wouldn't have been able to stack Egypt with all his fighters over here. Now I get to stack it, so he's not going to get it back. So that's a +2 for me. Maybe a little bit more if I get to hold it for an extra round or two that normally I wouldn't have. So maybe slightly more than 2. But all of that together comes to a 41 IPC to the Allies' favor in the ordeal. Take that to attack power, and that's going to be like a 12 to 14 attack power swing. So it's not good, but it's not the end of the world since we did already have a decent lead there. I mean, we've got a 18 attack power lead going into this turn. Yeah. So shall see. Anyways, we're using the stack power to attack Germany, so I have to use my fighters, using a couple fighters and a bomber to clear out France, and then a fighter to take the transport, and then clear out this guy. And then like I said, we're going to go ahead and stack France down here, or Egypt down here. Rats. He did get a hit, though. So, that's 12 more IPC. Unfortunately, I didn't count in that. Oh well. So there we go. Now to figure out what we want to do. I'm going to keep him getting that free. I'm going to bring all my fighters up this way. You know what? I can't do that, can I? Because he's got his fighters that could kill that bomber, and since I'm not building any units, that's no good. No bueno. Too bad. I wanted him here so that we could help, use the bomber down here and clearing out the C-Zone 13, which he now can come down to since I lost the one bomber there. Let's see. I think we're just going to have to add to the stack up here. So yeah, so he'll start to be able to eat up on North Africa some. I need the fighters in order to hold Karelia. Sigh, sigh, sigh. He did build a sub and bomber out here to mess up plans for Alaska and Hawaii. Alright, well. That's it. Okay, folks. I did it again. I took my Japan turn forgetting about doing my recording. There wasn't a whole lot to report as far as action. I actually didn't really do any combat. That was just moving the battleship to where his sub in case he didn't have it set to submerge. Of course it was set to submerge. But you just never know. Might as well, since I was going there anyways. So really no combats to speak of. I did buy 8 infantry, 2 tanks, and a bomber. 2 tanks and a bomber coming in here. 8 infantry onto Japan. His play with the sub bomber buy prevent me from come up to the Hawaii with the battleship. I mean, I could have. It would have been a 50-50 sub bomber versus battleship. But I got better things for the battleships to do, so I got both my battleships putting some pressure on India, as well as 5 transports, and my fighter and bomber putting pressure there to try and help keep these units pinned in there. Otherwise, I took my 5th transport, picked up a guy off of this Iwo Jima. Yeah, Iwo Jima. Dropped him off in Okinawa. Brought a couple boats out here. If he pulls out too much, then maybe I can come over here and take Pearl. Most likely, in reality, I'm not expecting to. I'm expecting to take these 2 units right on in here with these other 8, bring 10 next turn in, and then the following turn, a transport can hop out to C-Zone 50 and then be prepared to go 52, 53 with a battleship or 2 when I'm not as worried about trying to pin down India. So I don't expect to take Hawaii really until what 6, 7, 8. J8's what we're looking at. The big news here was going ahead and stacking Kaza. So he's got 7, 2, 3 tanks, 2 fighters that can attack into this. Assuming my math was correct on a calculator, that'll leave about an artillery, the 2 tanks, and a fighter for his 3 infantry, 2 artillery, tank, and fighter. The good news there is I am fully ready to fly my German fighters in here to support. And even in doing, they can go 1, 2, 3, 4, so they can help with the trades along this front while the bomber comes back uh, towards France. We'll see. I've got my suspicions about what he might do, but we're just going to have to see how he plays it. I just felt like overall the Allies took a lead there, so I need to take a little bit of risk. The big thing about coming here, if he decides to attack it, then we get bloody. If he doesn't attack it, then he needs to really pull out of West Russia, which means Germany might be able to get to sit on Karelia. If he sits in West Russia with Russia, then Germany's not going to be able to hold there because I couldn't reinforce and I couldn't build units in there between UK and the units that US is going to drop off here. There's no keeping Karelia. So this move is mainly to try to save Karelia. It's aggressive, it's risky, but at this point I feel like I need to. Originally I was going to do 11 infantry in a IPC, a factory down here, but because we're pushing the timeline up, I wanted some units that could get speed coming down, coming back, so that hopefully maybe we can stack. If he does pull back, I'll have to pull back at least for a turn. But if we can get these guys in and maybe start trying to get another stack on Kazakh going quick sooner than later. So that's what happened on J5 there. Sorry about the forgetting to record live. All right, here we're back for Germany 6. Once again, I was starting my turn, but I paused before I got too far along, just to kind of show what's happening. Round 5, U.S. got to spend all that money that they earned, bought a lot of infantry, a lot of ground troops, got their industrial complex up here for Norway. So the good news is they don't have any transports on the east coast over here of North America, so we got some time till they hit. That being said, obviously he's got 7, 8, 9 transports that can come back over here. He's going to want to get as many into the Canada region as possible, so he could have 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 units up here in eastern Canada. So that's 8 of his transports. That leaves him 1 extra transport that he could be miscellaneous with anywhere without really losing too much track, or he could bring it back to the east side of USA to continue to reinforce Africa and or Morocco, or it's still Africa, but still. So he's probably going to try to get all his transports back, but he does have a little bit of leeway with one that was going to be slightly inefficient. So I got to be careful. I don't want to just let a transport run free. Combat-wise, yeah, he sent 3 bombers to Germany, and they all hit for a 9 IPC loss. He walked into Morocco, Northwest Europe, and Finland. He attacked Bilo with 1 infantry, 2 fighters, but it failed. So that was essentially the U.S. turn. The interesting on Russia is he did choose to bite a fighter with 3 infantry to help with his trading efficiency coming up, presumably. It makes me really think, how can I best punish buying a fighter? And in this game, what's my advantage right now? Because after all the trading and all that's said and done, he now has an attack power lead, and I don't have the economic lead yet because Japan's still just getting going. So I'm in overall that side not a good shape, but he's out of position. So he's got some turns to get in, and I'm still right up here in Karelia and in Kazakh right now. So, one of the things I have to look at is, okay, I've got position right now. Could I press him quickly and make something happen sooner than later? Which I am continuing to still look at. I was looking at a pretty cheeky move of try and kill this Finland with 1 and 1 and potentially stack West Russia with Germany, he'd have enough that Russia could kill them, but then he'd severely weaken Japan with Japan right on the back doorstep. But problem is Japan's not going to be able to stay here. I'm going to have to take one turn back. And so the timing is, if I had just a few more units up here, I would push into it even with giving them a potential profitable battle. But the problem with also pushing in here, that allows him to potentially land everybody over in Northwest Europe or France. So this may be an undoing. I chose to go conservative. I was really thinking about this stack West Russia, really try to force Japan to stay in the area, maybe fly some German air down here, move these German units in this way, make UK had to think that way as well. And that may have been the better way to go. But just looking at it, the odds are still slightly, in the battles for the Allies, and I'm not quite yet ready to give it to them there. So I'm going to try and buy a turn. I'm going to try and push as many men up here towards Karelia. I'm still going to try to use my positional advantage and get Karelia really stacked and then potentially get into West Russia. But we're talking, maybe around 3, 4, around 9, 10, trying to put a lot of pressure on Russia. Of course, he's going to be putting a lot of pressure on me by that time too, because US going 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're going to be putting a lot of pressure on me. So it's going to be tight, but that's where we're at. So I did end up deciding to build 11 units. I did have to repair 8 in Berlin. I decided I was going to do a minimal, put 3 units down here in Italy, and then 6 and 2, and not repair as much. However, 3 units in Italy, it may be worth him to sacrifice his transport with 2 units and 3 bombers to kill those 3 units and get Italy. So I'm just going to leave Italy open, because then he can get the 3 of getting Italy, but no killing of my units, and I would be able to sink his transport for a 7 IPC and also a turn loss. So I'm going to leave it open. He could choose to take it. We'll see. So in any case, going to do some trade battles instead. Get 2 infantry, 3 fighters going on that one, and we can go from there. It's a positive one. Everyone we don't lose a unit is a good thing. Especially up here against Russia, make Russia have to work harder. Alright. That's definitely a positive. Eastern Front there, we like that. I sent my bomber here to help make it a little more clear of taking. Ooh, another one. Can we get the perfect no hits on defense? Huh? I got one hit in. I will not complain. So now comes the interesting part. I'm going to put things a little bit thin. I'm going to bring everybody back to, my fighters back to protection and here. I've got 9 units coming there, so I have 11 units sitting here. The 11 is significant because with the tanks and the air, that should prevent him from being able to stack Northwest Europe or France. Um, it also just squeaks me by for holding France on a double attack, which I just want to double check my numbers on that and make sure. Yeah, I wanted to bring one tank back as well. I'm going to move the rest of the tanks back in here to help escort these guys from any potential attacks. You notice his destroyers went down here, so that gives my subs a chance to come out and say hi. So I'm going to bring them out and come out and say hi, because he's got no destroyers all in here, and these destroyers can't reach up there. Don't think it's going to make much of a deal, but hey, you know, gives him something he has to think about a little bit. Okay, so just to double check myself, got gonna have 11 infantry, 17, 18. If I did my math, that should be good. I have 10 and 9 here, so anything trying to attack either of these would be very costly. So I think we're okay, and I'm pretty sure we're good and golden with 2 units coming up here. So that will have 16 and 2 BAA. So hopefully I didn't make any miscalculations and miss anybody, because, well, I certainly have proven I can do that. Nervous, but here we go. This gun's making me nervous. All right. So that'll be our turn. All right. So I goofed again. I forgot to record on Japan 6. I apologize. So I'll give you the quick rundown of Japan 6. I bought 10 infantry and an industrial complex. That meant I was one short of being able to fully fill my complex here on Japan. But at the end of the day, at the end of this next turn, Japan 7, I'll grab those 7 and put them in Yunnan. I'll build 2 here, so that'll be 9 men at the front line, or well, at this line at this point. Whereas if I hadn't built the factory and built 8 men, I would be pulling 8, so I'd have 8 here. So go ahead and putting it in now gave me 1 extra man, even though I was thinking about building some more tanks, and then saving up so I had 48 IPC to spend and done 11 in the factory next time. That would have meant I would have to win all my battles, which, as we're going to see, unfortunately did not happen. I ended up going really bad. So he had 2 infantry up here in Evenkai. I had 1 tank that I had sitting in here that I could reach him with, because I had stacked Kaza here. He did stack back, so I knew I had to retreat out of Kaza, but I attacked that 2 infantry stack with my tank, fighter, and bomber. Unfortunately, the first round of battle, 1 of the tanker fighters hit and 1 of his infantry hit, so I took out the tank. That left 1 infantry and my fighter and bomber. Because I didn't want this to happen, I went ahead and went through with the attack. Fighter and bomber both missed. His 1 infantry hit. And then I went on tilt, and I said the bomber cannot miss 3 times in a row, so I rolled 1 more time. The bomber missed, and guess what? His infantry hit again. So I ended up losing all 3 of those guys to kill 1 infantry, and he still had his breakthrough here. That pinned my tanks here, because I'm going to have to use my tanks to get to him when I wanted my tanks up in the front here, where I could be threatening a stack. Now I can't. Not only that, they're going to be up here next turn, which again is going to prevent them from being in a stack the following turn. So the timing was really off. That's why I really wanted to kill that one guy and ended up losing heavily on it. To further complicate it, I was on tilt and I should have walked away, but I did not. And I did all my movements and forgot to move my fleet in. Here's Season 61. So now UK has a sub coming at a solo carrier defending my 5 transports. So I'm hoping I can have a longer game to show you guys, but the truth is if he attacks there and he sinks my transports, that's game over. Between my blunder of losing all my airplanes now, I have 0 air force for my Japan from the earlier blunder. It's just not doable if I lose 5 transports too. So it may be game after this, unfortunately. Hopefully the carrier wins and I get to continue to play the game and make something of it. I'm already behind even without that aspect. So here we are. Uh, Russia backed out. UK had taken Ukraine here. They put the AA gun. I knew this was a possibility that they'd come into Ukraine, but I really wanted to get these infantry streamlined into Karelia to defend Karelia with these 14 US coming up next turn. So I knew this was a possibility. Sticking the AA, that was not nice of him because I would have attacked it with an infantry and a blast of planes, or an infantry and a tank and a blast of planes. But now, I'm sitting here looking at it, and I was thinking, I could take them out with an infantry, 1 tank, and 3 fighters would be pretty good odds of taking it out, risking my fighters with that AA. But hey, I was thinking, if I took that AA out, then that's one less one that Japan has to deal with, except for Japan doesn't have planes, so that does not matter. So I think I'm not actually going to attack Ukraine this time. I'm going to mini stack all around it so that to try to limit his trading of all 3 of these, because all he could use to trade here is his infantry, tank, and 2 fighters coming over. So I can kind of mini stack here, and thankfully, we got Africa where we're going to gain 3 more, or well, 4, 5 if you count, 4 more new ones plus the old ones. So we're going to get 5 more units here. So I'm just going to be happy that I have that to supplement my income. Plus, if I went for Ukraine, I wasn't going to be able to do West Russia. Now I can do West Russia. So that's the long story catch up. Of course, he's stacking back over here, getting ready to come in. We've got destroyers coming back out, so my sub's going to have to go hide again. But it did make him have to pull people back at least. I'm going to do my best to make these 4 transports come down. I got a battleship sub here to make things irritating for him. Not that he can't defend it, but that's a little less he has to get into C Zone 3 and down here. So we will do everything that we can here. All right. So purchase, I'm rebuilding a little bit there, getting 13 units to go to 0. I don't always like building artillery, but the only way that I foresee me taking Moscow down now, with Japan being neutered of an air force, is going to be a 1-2 punch eventually. So I'm going to go ahead and build 2 artillery when I can up here to help strengthen a punch from Germany when that time comes, and I can bring them into West Russia and stack a Japan and go for a 1-2. It's going to get hairy because that 1-2, he's going to be hitting Berlin at the same time. I don't like doing the 1-2 because a lot of times that leaves Germany too weak to get back and defend Berlin in time, but I think that's what we're going to have to play for in this game. So that's my whole catch up. So here we go. France is a little bit important, so I like using my bomber there. I'm going to go ahead and take that freebie. Been nicer if I had one of my tanks up there to zoom in and out, but oh well. Life is what life is. Let's see. Just gonna do a double check on my calculators I got going. 2, 3, that's 80%. Yeah, that gives me 75% on West Russia, 80% on Northwest Europe, and then France is pretty good, so I will take those. Oh, don't want to forget about down here. Whew, glad I remembered. So the good news is no transports can sneak over and hit my tank, so I can zip through and get both of them. I'm going to leave them back so that if he moves in, he'll bring transports in. We'll see how this all plays out, but it gives me more options. Actually, I would go ahead and take, except he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, boom. 2 infantry with 2 bombers. Hitting there is not the odds I want. I want to create as much headache as I can here. So that's not the battle that we're going to take right now. So for better luck than Japan, I need some dice luck to really get me back into this game because this is not looking good for me at the moment. Let's see what we can get here. Double check, all those are strongs. No major goofs. At least the German bombers know how to hit. Northwest Europe here is pretty critical. We said we don't want to we want to try to prevent an early stack in here on the northwest side. All right, whew. Always feel good on that. Ugh. That is not what I wanted to see. We learned not to go on tilt after last time. I really want to roll the dice there, but not a bueno situation. Four, six. So we can have an 8 after a 6. I do want to make sure I have 12 infantry here. I'm building 8. That'll help me prevent a Northwest Europe stack unless he brings his Russian fighters over. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I want to keep these infantry going forward. 15, 17, 18 is 8. He's got that. So I'm going to pause for 1 second. I don't want to leave you guys hanging. I want to check a calculate. Okay, I think I figured out what I want to do. Again, not hitting a thing in West Russia kind of threw a little bit of a wrinkle of what I was looking to do, but it doesn't really affect us too much. We don't want to leave them sitting here on the Baltic just because they're free shots from them. And unfortunately, we did have to move the infantry this way, but hopefully we'll be able to work our way back up through Baltic. I think I'm going to leave them here. Relatively safe, but they can strike if he moves in, so. Oh, good old sub. We want to move him on back. That way he can still threaten C-Zone 3. So we still have, in essence, 5 fighters, a bomber, and a sub threatening C-Zone 3. So, you know, that's still, what, 7 units sitting here threatening there. And, you know, I say the fighters, although I think we're going to take one of these off. Put them up there. Because we could always build a carrier here and fly over if we needed to for the safety. So that gives us 7 for the cost of a carrier. If he's got 7 transports sitting in there and he doesn't guard it well, it may be worth the shot. I doubt he's going to give me that, though, of course. But it will make it hard to keep 7 guarded there and 3 guarded here. Yeah, he'll doable. Yeah, he'll be able to do both. Anyways. Alright. I think we're just going to go with it. I think this game's kind of lost hope, but we'll see. Alright. See what he does. Okay, I'm going to jump in here again real quick. I did it again. I took my turn without having my recording device ready and just completely forgot about it as I was doing some other turns. I see my opponent's trying to do his turn right now, so I don't want to be cramming his style too much. So we're going to run through the Japan 7 real quick. Bought 9 infantries, 4 artilleries. I debated buying 12 infantry or excuse me, 11 infantry and a bomber so I could have that bomber for trading. But I want to get some artilleries because I had that stack of 11 and stack of 17 infantry. I want to get some artilleries back in here, and then next turn be infantry and hopefully a fighter or a bomber or an air one for a couple turns. I decided not to roll two tanks just against the 1 infantry. Just concede the fact that he'll be able to get another unit up here. I do wish I would have brought this tank on down south as well, because I forgot I was bringing these 2 tanks up, that when he goes here I can blitz him over, and then these guys can always cycle back up. But anyways, was what it was. So I ended up using a transport to come down here so that I could use my battleship since I don't have any air and I didn't have any artillery. So that's how we managed to take Yunnan this turn. And then we walked into there unopposed and had killed. I think he had 1 infantry. Yeah, 1 infantry that was in Kaza that we killed. I decided not to put an infantry down here just because trading's actually kind of expensive for Japan at the moment, so I'll let him free blitz it back and forth. Not real concerned about that. Put enough up here so that his 3 infantry, 2 tanks, 3 planes isn't a threat here, but then I can also be potentially getting those tanks over to Karelia if I need be, but also just kind of preventing some income. So The one thing that I did do kind of unique here, which I might pay the price for, is all those infantry I had, I ended up having only one transport drop here. The reason there being is I did all the adding up here and whatnot, and he's got the potential to move into Kazakh and stack Kazakh. And if he does that, if I dropped him here in Yunnan, then they gotta go they gotta go the long way to meet up with the rest versus coming straight in. So um, probably wasn't really necessary because even if he did come down, he probably wouldn't last the 2 turns that it's going to take me to walk him around. So I probably could have just dropped him normally and been safe with the masses. But as is, I left it so I've got 4 infantry in my battleship to attack whatever he ends up taking this with. Maybe it wasn't a smart play. I'll hold that one out. I was thinking if he puts too much, I'll be able to jump over and take India. Yeah, I'm overthinking it to be honest. So that was Japan's play. Um, move people where I could. I like the tank split here where they can come on up if they need to. They can come on down. They can all reach into Kazakh if that stack opens at any point, except for that one that I still sillily moved up there. I moved my aircraft carrier destroyer up here, so I've got his sub pinned. He can't really go anywhere where I can't strike him if I want to. And he can't strike my transports at all. Brought them to South America where they can threaten in here if U.S. moves here, or they can come over to Brazil. The biggest thing is the battleships and sub is one more threat that the Allied Navy has to worry about. You know, especially if they want to drop more into Africa. And he's got just the one destroyer here, and plus he still wants to come up north. So a lot of places, and I still got, you know, the really 7 units that can hit C-Zone 3, because if he makes some mistakes and puts 5 transports up there with not enough protection, I can always build a carrier in here and whatnot. So anyways, that's where we stand. Alright, so here we are with Germany round 8. So lots of things to talk about here. A lot of things went through my mind as I'm prepping this round. And so this is going to be a little bit longer because I think this is good. It's a good competitive game and good player I'm going against, so I think it's worth talking about. So we're going to assume we successfully trade these. If we don't trade those, then that throws a wrench into the whole plans, obviously. But on the good news, we've got a free 2 here, a free 2 here. Hopefully we get those 8. So that's 12. Plus we got all of Africa, and we'll grab this one as well. So that's 13 IPC, and as it turns out, I'm going to grab that one as well. So that's 14 IPC. Plus, I'm going to be saving 2 just on what I'm buying, so that's going to be 16 IPC. Plus the fact that I hold 33, so I'm going to have 49 IPC next turn, which is really nice for Germany. So that's the pro of it all. And yes, I did say I'm going to take this because it's going to play into the big plan. So my goal after the Germany turn is over, what all the things I would like to do is I want to dead zone Ukraine, which is a little bit tough because he's got a lot of units here, plus these guys that can fly in, these fighters can fly in, these fighters, and this tank can come in. So there's a lot of units he can bring into there actually. But we want to dead zone Ukraine, we want to dead zone France and Northwest Europe so that he can't create a stack here that starts building up on us. So at the end of the day, I did my I did my calculations, and I need 22 infantry sitting in here in Berlin, plus my 10 tanks able to reach, my 5 planes and a bomber able to reach there, because he's got 11 U.S. transports that can drop off there after the 3 from UK, plus I had to factor in the fact that he could land all these 6 airplanes after UK takes it as well, knowing we got some AA guns coming in there. So a lot of things to consider there. But at the end of the day, I need 22 there. I need all my tanks and planes targeting Ukraine, plus I'm going to bring these artillery down because they'll be more useful there. I'm going to bring the 4 artillery down, and I need ideally 7 infantry. I'm going to squeak by with 6 infantry here to dead zone Ukraine. And then I also want to make sure I have Karelia stacked, Germany stacked, of course. So these two need to be stacked and not able to be beaten. And I would love to have Italy stacked as well to prevent these guys all from landing. However, I was really looking at the idea of having 3 fighters and the bomber down here in Italy. That way they can help dead zone Egypt because he's going to be able to move this infantry in, and then he can move these in, and then these air can come in. So, I'm going to lose Egypt permanently if I didn't dead zone it. At least Germany's going to lose it. Unfortunately, that would require 3 fighters and a bomber, or 3 fighters sitting in Italy to dead zone it and the bomber coming down. And that's just because of, with his 2 transports and all these guys, that'd be able to hit there and land in France after UK takes France. I would have needed like 8-9 infantry down here, plus my 22 up here, and that's just too much infantry than I can build, nor do I want to keep this way. I want to get things moving, trickling this way is where we can. So I'm going to leave Italy empty. I'm not going to build in it. That's why I ended up building more, repairing more in Germany than I really wanted to, leaving me to only build 11 infantry this turn. But that way, if he does decide to come in here and take it, I'm not wasting infantry. And if he does, of course, I'll have my 6 planes here, and I'll be able to, sink him for it. Maybe he'll find that 1 transport's worth that. I don't know. So lots of things to do, a lot of dead zones, a lot of stacking. India was the one I ended up giving up on, which is also giving up Egypt. Ultimately, because priority says not letting him stack over here on the Western Front, preventing a stack in Ukraine, and keeping my stack in Karelia. The key thing with Karelia that you're going to notice is you might say, well, he could take Karelia back if he brought all the UK and brought all the US, but he would have to use all 7 of these transports into C-Zone 4 or C-Zone 5, which means they're now again 2 turns back from picking units up. So although he could take it at about probably 12, somewhere between 10 to 20. It's hard to really calculate exactly because I have an AA in there, but 10 to 20 IPC advantage income for him. But it's also going to put 7 transports a couple turns out of their way. So I don't think it'll be worth his income and taking Karelia for what I'm going to do, because I'm just going to put infantry there. I'm not going to put any tanks or fighters there for him to attack. So in any case, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to build the 11 infantry, repair 7 spots. So blitz and grab that guy. Going to move 1 guy in here. We're going to save every German infantry we can and let him come down in here. So I'm going to use a bomber on Northwest Europe because I'm only going to take 2 infantry there. France I really wanted to make sure I held on to. I really want to hold on to Northwest Europe. It's still an 83% chance to conquer there, but every infantry counts, so I don't want to spend too many taking these back because it's already costing me. And I am going to do this. Normally I don't mess with Finland at all with Germany, but this makes him, because he's got 19 units here, it'll make him actually have to use all 7 transports to carry the 2 tanks as well. Otherwise, he could do 2 tanks plus 14, and that would make it just a little bit more profitable in Karelia. So maybe that would turn it. Now he can only do 14 units, including the 2 tanks, by using the transports. So normally, a lot of times it's not worth Germany to mess around with Finland, but this time I am going to take that one. Big battles here. All right, good success. And so I'm building 9 in here, plus the 10 is 19, that gives me the 22. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to quite hit the end phase, but I'm going to think about this for just a minute, because every little infantry is going to count in this. And since I took both these with 2, actually 2 of my units I need a dead zone, one or the other, will already be here. So I probably only need to take 20, and that can bring me 2 units to leave and to Poland, which means I can have 2 less units in Belo, which can be 2 more units in Karelia. So I'm going to think about that and finish my turn, but I don't want to leave y'all sitting here hanging while I'm thinking on that. That's the only thing that I might do differently than what I have set up right here. I am going to drop my 9 infantry here, 2 infantry here, and I will end up ultimately moving 1 Japan infantry over to block the Russians from an easy blitz and take, or even getting part of Karelia action. So there we go. Dang it, guys, I apologize. I forgot it again. Here we go. Japan 8, I bought 11 infantry, 1 artillery, 1 fighter. There's a debate between a destroyer or a fighter because that's sub, but I hate to buy a destroyer that it's just going to annoy my logistics, is what that sub's going to do. But a fighter's going to be more productive elsewhere to help me start trading, because I had to do an infantry artillery trade here again. I blitzed my tank through to join here with my other tanks to minimize how many infantry I have to put up here to stack. 3 infantry took out the last of his guys up there. Like I said, I'd have to do 1 and 1. Down here, I decided to keep my battleship and sub hanging loose, just because to reinforce, he'll have to bring some more guys down here to Sea Zone 23 if he wants to get into South Africa. And so they're just going to hang out there. I decided to move my orange guys up. They're just going to be part of the whole defense of Africa as long as I can. Move my naked sub over, just in case he gives me the opportunity to move him over the rest of the way. I kind of doubt it'll happen, because he's got this bomber up here. All he has to do is move him down. But you never know. Maybe he has other right plans, and I'll be able to sneak him on over and get him back into the fold. My other transport, I went ahead just to go ahead and grab a man. Of course, he can threaten with a sub, but I can just come back under the protection of Sea Zone 61 next turn. And just kind of keep shuffling people around as best as I can, grabbing men. Maybe take a 2-on-1 on Hawaii, who knows. So, really would like to get that destroyer, but it's just an inefficient buy. We need everything going this direction. So that's what we did. You can see as UK took a lot of German property back, but the good news is if I take all that back, I'm still going to have like 45 or 46 units for Germany. So I'm happy about that.